A bit of a question, and this is going on a while, I apologise for it, but it's a bit of a question with regards to kind of Edinburgh shows. Some of them quite contrived, some of them quite kind of personal journeys and all that type of stuff. But some people kind of use it as a platform just to rehearse stuff that they're doing for a tour.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Is it kind of... Would you see it as frowned upon, or do you think that the Edinburgh show should be polished, or should it be something...
Could you be more specific on that? I don't know if that's happening. Is that what sort of like interacts do you mean?
Well, I've been looking at the brochure, and so far I know of Stuart Lee and Mark Watson who are doing preview, kind of warm-up shows.
Are they? Okay.
Doing work-in-progress shows.
Are they? I didn't know that.
Yes.
But they can do it if they want. I mean, if people want to go and watch it, they'll go and watch it. If people want to, if people want to take a risk or a punt on that, then fine. I think you should be allowed to do whatever you want at the Fringe. You pay enough money to come here. In most cases, I guess she's probably the standard, I would imagine, which are
probably
they operate a different financial scheme there. I mean, do what you want, can't you? I mean, at the end of the day, we're paying thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. If me and Ed want to go on stage tonight and just sit there in silence, then it's our right to do that. People can complain about it and they can ask for their money back and they can review it badly and all the rest of it. But we've paid for that room. We can do what we want in it.
That's a good way to be.
Yeah, it certainly is. I wouldn't really frown on anything, and on anything up here. I wouldn't frown on. I mean, you don't want to get anyone turn up drunk or anything or be very unprofessional about stuff, really. But if that's what it's set out to be, for example, the podcast that we do on Sunday, we're very clear in that it's a made-up show, that it's totally improvised, and that we tell the audience when we record the podcast, sections do just peter out. And then we edit them. But if we're doing it live, they'll just peter out. So they just have to just deal with it. And we'll get on to something else very soon. You do what you like.
So it more just seems, so your podcast thing just more seems like an hour-long conversation between you two rather than a...
But an hour flies, though. It really flies. It's it was an odd one. Like last week, we finished and we were like, gosh, we've not got anywhere near what we wanted to get. But then we just edit it down to half an hour, and it's relatively potent as a thing then. I'm still thinking about what you said about how people look at different shows and that. It is an interesting thing, but people, my personal feeling is you should do something in Edinburgh from an artistic point of view. I think you should challenge yourself in Edinburgh. There are acts that will come up here and we'll just do an extended club set, and you just think, well, fine, but you could be doing that in a club now and getting paid for it. Well, why did you come up here to do your club set? Surely you'd rather use the opportunity of having an hour and of people who come specifically for you to actually show yourself off to the best of your talents, I guess. But I also, contradictorily, I also think what I said before, which is you can do what you want. It is up to you. But for me personally, I'd rather do something for it.
See something of worth.
Well, do you know what? I don't really watch stuff when I'm up here anyway, because I'm working, so I don't see it as an opportunity to see things or...
Is it a full work thing? Because, I mean, you're on quite late at night, and what, you kind of working throughout the day?
Well, I mean, I write for a good chunk of the day. We have an ongoing video blog that we're doing, which we do part of the day. But we're both doing other gigs. I did Late and Live. I compared Late and Live last night, and Ed was on Late and Live last night. I'm comparing some of the BBC shows as well. So, I very much see it as a time to go up here and work. It's certainly not
a holiday.
Yeah, well, it's nowhere near a holiday, but it's also not really a social thing for me. I'm not one for going out drinking or all of that business. I did that in my youth, and I don't need to do it now. And now is certainly a very concentrated work time for me.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of work, you've got Peacock and Gamble's emergency broadcast and the Peacock and Gamble podcast live, both up at Edinburgh, both at the Pleasance Dome. People should go and get tickets and that.
Yeah, they should. You're right.
They should. They have to.
They absolutely should.
Yeah, they should, definitely. Also, if you can, I urge people to go on. I'm going to put it on the Twitter page. I'm going to put it on the Facebook page as well. A link to Warm Up, your short film, because I love that. I cannot encourage more people to watch that. It was fantastic.
Thank you. There's also a version of that on YouTube with a commentary by me and Ed as well.
Yes.
So once you've seen it, if you look at the commentary, then you'll just see quite how ridiculous we are in real life.
Well, if they want to do that, they can listen to your podcast as well.
Yeah, totally.
There we go. Everything links.
I'd certainly give a warning about the podcast, because that has some very naughty moments from time to time.
Yeah, our listeners don't mind.
No. There'll be none of this complaining that's been going on with the BBC recently.
Oh, not at all, no. I can mention something that has the word bum in it, and I don't think any of our listeners would complain.
Well, I think anybody should be allowed to mention anything that they've just enjoyed. I think you're allowed to enjoy things.
You saw exactly the same thing as I did then, didn't you?
Yeah, totally.
The Doug Stanhope.
And also, why would you... if you did do that and somebody went and was offended by it, why would you then apologise?
I know.
That is ridiculous. Surely that's you out of any credible comedic integrity whatsoever.
I've just mentioned something that's alive. I've mentioned Hitler. I'm not a racist.
Yeah. You're literally not allowed to mention something you've seen.
No, you're not.
But things like that infuriate me, because things like, it's Richard Baker we're talking about. I'll say it quite happily.
Oh yeah, Richard Baker and Doug Stanhope. I'm going to talk. The thing is, this interview, ladies and gentlemen, isn't live. I'm going to be talking about this exact thing on Monday. And
are you really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I would hope so, because well, you can put my two pence in, which is that Richard Bacon, by apologising, has contributed to the problem of dumbing down.
Yes.
He has completely contributed to the problem of that, because if you set a precedent that you apologise when an idiot complains, if you set that precedent, then the idiots will run amok. They will absolutely run amok, and eventually there will be nothing on television or nothing on the radio of any worth whatsoever.
I think the thing that probably amused me most was the fact that the guy said, no, listen, he is very offensive.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, watch this.
Yes.
And people, I don't believe he's offensive. Oh, he's offensive, I'm offended.
Yeah, but Doug, Doug, to his credit though, when he responds to things, he responds amazingly eloquently, and then we'll just pull the rug at the end of it. And
Yeah.
It always amuses me. I think Doug's absolutely fantastic. Really, really, an incredibly talented man, who will every now and again just go for a really cheap laugh deliberately, or go for a really shocking laugh deliberately, and that's part of his shtick, and that's part of what of what he does. But you only see him on any of the Charlie Brooker programs, or even listen to his stand-up, any of his stand-up at all, to see just quite how much integrity he has as a human being. He's bang on the money. He's bang on the money.
He does have a lot, and if you do want to listen, do want to read his, unfortunately, his kind of rebuttal and his, kind of comment on the whole thing, I can't read out, which is unfortunate.
But it's easy to find, and also you'll find plenty more rebuttals of other things as well.
Yeah.
Of other hornet's nests that he's inadvertently, poked. But whenever he responds to something, it's always like there's no argument to his rebuttal, because he gets it bang on the money.
He does.
He knows what he's doing.
He does, very much so.
And then Richard Bacon just goes, I'm terribly sorry. I'm sorry for speaking. What an idiot, in my opinion.
Do you think it's gotten worse since the, Jonathan Russell Brand cockfight?
No, I think that was the volcano erupting. That was the moment that it happened. But I think it was always on the way. I genuinely lay the blame squarely at Simon Cowell's feet. I think that he has cultivated a mood in society, and cultivated a mood in audiences where they now rather indignantly feel they can respond and criticise anything, because he's given the power to the audience. So you vote what you like, what you want for, and that's fine for one programme, but that doesn't then spill over to every performance. Or shouldn't then spill over to every performance, but it has. I've noticed a dramatic rise in heckling at clubs. I've noticed a dramatic rise in people complaining. I've noticed a dramatic rise in people being very rude in clubs, and chatting on their phones or chatting to each other very loudly. Same in cinemas. It's certainly on the increase. It's a breakdown of manners in society, but it's also it's giving power to people who haven't earned that power. It's giving artistic assessment credibility. It's just people who haven't earned that. They actually, Alan Moore, who's a tremendous writer, comic book writer,
brilliant comic book writer.
Yeah, he wrote Watchmen and all of those sort of things.
Yeah.
He always said he said a great quote, which was, and now let me just make sure I get this right, because I don't want to misquote him. If I misquote him, I apologise. But it was along the lines of, never give the audience what they want, because the audience don't know what they want. That's why they're the audience. Which I think just crystallises it. You know, the audience relies. It's a symbiotic thing. The audience relies on the performers or the creative people for the entertainment, and the creative people rely on an audience to perpetuate the entertainment. But the audience don't get a say in how you do it. They can either take it or leave it. If they don't like it, they can go away and find something else. But they can't stand and say, no, stop it, stop doing it, I don't like it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. There's plenty of other things. And I don't know why that very simple argument isn't understood by more people.
That's always been my thought. I mean, for me personally, Kerry Katona and Jordan offend me, but I just don't watch them.
Yeah, same.
And
I say same. Sometimes I do watch them and make myself angry.
Why would you do that to yourself?
In fact, I'm going to now completely contradict everything I say. Because I was about to say, but, their programs have a right to exist. I don't think they do, really.
They don't. At all.
Yeah, we can't. Our argument has fallen apart.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but we're talking about kind of, culture and artistic integrity. If there's any amount of artistic integrity in anything Jordan and or Kerry Katona say, then realistically I'm in the wrong business.
Well then we're creative people, so we have an amnesty in this. We're allowed to criticise it because we are also creative people.
We do. We have a right.
We're going to have to just start bringing in rules where people have to pass a test before they're allowed to vote on X Factor. This is what's going to happen. And if you can prove yourself worthy of your vote, then we'll listen to what you have to say. But no one has the right to demand something for something to be changed or apologised over. That's ridiculous. An apology is ridiculous. It doesn't mean anything. It's a word. It means nothing at all. It's all that's happened this week or last week, whatever it is, goes out with Richard Baker. It's just a word that I can't believe he's even said. I can't believe he's done that.
I mean, that's my thought, though, that, both the BBC and Richard Bacon have turned around and apologised for it. And I've just thought, well, hang on a second, what have the, kind of downsider of society thought? Have they just sat there and gone, that's better?
Yeah, well, do you know what? But I mean, the BBC kind of have more responsibility in terms of that, they are responsible to license better, so because they're a publicly owned company. So I kind of understand when they are when they tentatively play by the rules a little bit. I also think you can't be overly creative if you do play by the rules. So they have to strike a difficult balance, which I don't think at the moment they're getting right, and that does go back to the Jonathan Ross Brand thing.
Yeah,
that was that's completely provable that goes back to that. So I don't think they're quite getting it right at the moment, but I think they're striving to get it right, and I think they're striving to find the right balance. But for an actual quote unquote performer, and they are massive quote marks there with regards to Richard Bacon, then why would he apologise for having an opinion? Why would he apologise for why would a human even apologise for having for watching something? I watched that. And I liked it. It's legal. I watched it. Why would you apologise for that? I don't get it.
I don't know. Have you seen The Only Way is Essex?
I've seen a little bit of that.
See, everyone should apologise for watching that show, let alone making it.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I've not much time for Richard Bacon anyway, to be fair. As a person or as a performer.
Hang on a second. I've read that you did the warm up on his show. Did it stem from that?
I did one warm-up on Richard Baker's Beer and Pizza Club, which is the single most diabolical program I've ever seen or witnessed. I literally couldn't believe it was even happening when I was there.
Okay.
And on that night in question, I didn't speak to Richard Bacon all night. I didn't speak to him once all night. And even when I introduced him at the beginning of the show, I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Richard Bacon," and they all clapped, and then nothing happened. He didn't come out. And I walked to the side of the set where there was a door that he was meant to come out of, and I opened the door, and he was just talking to someone else. And at that moment, I was like, "Dude, I've just introduced you. Surely surely you were expecting that to happen. And then he just swanned out, and it was like, yeah, I don't know. The other thing as well that's quite interesting about the Richard Bacon thing with this guy this week about with Doug Stanhope thing is you look at it and you go, surely Richard Bacon has weathered more fierce storms than that.
Yeah, one or two, yeah.
Yeah, that's what Ed said last night when he came in. He was like, well, surely this is surely you can get over this without having to be all apologetic and that. Absolute cocaine using on the front of all the papers. But anyway, you know, I don't know. For me personally, that just takes him down the rungs of the ladder. That just means like, right, fine. Well, if that's what you are, then you go and carry on doing your program. But your credibility is gone now, as far as I'm concerned.